Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got J. Mitch. We got Jackie Boyd.
He tried to jump up, but he might have knocked it in.
Good time. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys will come in and say,
oh, God. So me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there, he's punching me in the stomach, like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around? Who here thinks Ochenko can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad Jones.
6 minutes.
For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Ochenko can practice today. And I was like, I look back and I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
On the spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
you heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her. I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Time
Good show.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you gonna bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it.
The SEC is, God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should.
Look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now.
Hello. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today is Friday, January 10th. I'm excited to be back. Sorry that we missed a few days. I was having some fun in the sun out there in Mexico. I made it back alive. Spirit Airlines, smooth sailing, Coach.
Of course.
We got there easy, no delays. Get in there. First flight there, not a full flight. You had rows everywhere, very comfortable. We land nice and on time. Get to the resort, do the whole deal, come back, full flight, also on time, no issues, no hiccups, make it back to Louisiana safe and sound. Obviously a lot chillier here than it was out there in Mexico. A lot of interesting things happened while the family was there in the sun.
The Gulf of America?
In the Gulf of America. I'll tell you some of the things that happened as we get through the course of the show. But I'm excited to be back to talk sports. Obviously, it's me, it's Lloyd. Jay Mitch is at his new home in Houston, Texas, the newly acquired Texan. Welcome back to the show. Jared, happy to be back. Everybody here kind of in studio. Get the band back together. Got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the college football playoff semifinals were last night. Notre Dame beats Penn State to go to the national championship, which obviously raises a lot of conversation about Brian Kelly leaving there, coming to LSU, and we're going to get into that. We had a nice conversation before the show, so we're really prepped and ready to go with that. You have Texas playing Ohio State tonight in the second game, the second semifinal game. Winner obviously plays Notre Dame in the national championship game. I believe is it next weekend? I guess not next Monday, but the Monday after, right? So I guess you have like 12 days or something until the national championship game.
They really stretch this thing out to avoid the NFL.
Yeah, they do. Ohio State's 6-point favorites over Texas. Think the over-under is 52. A lot of conversation about that game as well. Obviously, Texas is the last hope for the SEC. Ohio State is the hottest team in college football right now. And then obviously you have first round of the NFL playoffs that starts Saturday afternoon, which those Saturday-Sunday games, so those Saturday-Sunday slates are always entertaining to watch. It's been rainy. It's been cold. Enjoy the high-level football that you are seeing over the next few days and stay warm and cozy.
I mean, this is what you want, right? If you're just a fan of football, play it first. You get the college football playoff. You get 2 days of that. Then you have the NFL playoff, 2 days of that. And on top of all that, you want bad weather, right? So you don't feel
you don't have to do anything.
You don't feel bad about can't go outside.
So you don't have to do anything. I think the rain's stopping today. I think that it's just going to be cold, which I'd rather the rain stop. Maybe the sun come out, stay a little cold. If you have a back patio that has a fireplace, that'd be nice. Throw the fire, watch the game on outside, bundle up a little bit. Not my fireplace. That doesn't blow. That's just for look. That doesn't do anything.
It
works.
Aesthetic.
It works, but it's just so small that there's no heat that blows out of it, and you get the north wind that whips through my backyard. Doesn't make it very comfortable.
Whoever built that for you was like, "This is perfect."
Didn't build it for me.
Oh, somebody else.
I'm with Lloyd.
Build it for them.
Hey, I'm with Lloyd. When the calendar hits November and there's like meaningful football being played, you want every excuse to sit your ass down on the couch and be able to watch meaningful football. So go ahead, give me the cloud coverage, give me the rain, give me the snow, give me the it's too cold. Give me every reason to where I don't feel like a bum for sitting here and staring at this damn box for the whole damn day.
Borderline just want to get sick. Like, I definitely can't do anything.
No doubt. In different sports, finishing the Heineken headlines, going through the rest of these things before we get into the meat of the show. Women's basketball, big win against Tennessee.
Huge.
Buzzer beater basically to win the game, stay undefeated. They play again on Monday against Vanderbilt at home. The Lady Tigers are playing well, and they're seems like they're kind of getting not getting the respect that they probably deserve again because they're undefeated. I know that they like to hate on Kim Mulkey and those girls, but your actions speak louder than your words. So if you just keep winning, they keep winning, they're going to be where they want to be. On the other end of it, men's basketball 0-2 to start conference play. First game of the season, I can give them to it. Right, they didn't play that great. They turned the ball over a decent amount of times. They lose that game, and then you play again. And the game that they played this past week against Missouri was just as bad. Just turnovers all over the place. Didn't feel like they were crisp. Same mistakes they made in the first game they made in the second game. They're going to have to make some serious changes here very soon before they fall too far out of the SEC, because SEC basketball right now is the premier conference in all of college basketball. But
PSA real quick,
yes.
And I've done this a few times, but after the win last night by LSU, who remains undefeated, 18-0, ranked 6th in the country, should probably be higher. Still, the odds remain at plus 2,000 to win the national championship. 20 to win 420. If somebody wants to fire
I think
that.
I'll probably throw it in there. Fire that bet in there.
Yeah, just take a flyer.
I feel like that's an easy future right there.
Yeah, it's a good future to have.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead.
They might change that going into Monday.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do this
once
weekend.
they get around to it,
Yeah,
I think women's college futures are on the top of the docket.
I'm gonna get into that right now. I'm gonna make that bet today.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the game last night. Obviously, Penn State, Notre Dame, very similar teams this year. Very good defenses on both ends. Quarterbacks who are supposed to be better than they have been playing. Offenses have been pretty average for the most part, but their defenses have been elite. Both teams played that way, it felt like, throughout the course of the game. Drew Aller made more mistakes than Riley Leonard because Denbrock didn't really give Leonard an opportunity to make mistakes. They said, "Hey, bud, you threw the interception early in the game. We're just going to run it. We're just going to run the football and let our defense do what they need to do." And they did enough. They obviously turned Aller over at the end of the game, kicked the game-winning field goal, and they move on to the national championship. What y'all see about that game? What y'all like? What didn't y'all like? And do you like Notre Dame's chances of winning a national championship?
Yeah, I mean, the game last night, it ended up turning out to be an entertaining game. There was some, in my opinion, some pretty low quality quarterback play early on, and it kind of lasted throughout the night. Things kicked up a little bit, and it kind of got going a little bit. What I do think you ended up seeing, though, is the Notre Dame team is a little more physical, and they play with a little more attitude than I think anybody had probably been giving them all season, and that includes myself as well. I wasn't expecting them to be able to go through the teams that they've gone through, and they found a way. Right? Like, that's what they've done. They found a way to be able to beat them or whoever they're playing, whoever they're lined up across pretty much all year outside of Northern Iowa. So, I mean, Northern Illinois. So I kind of give them some credit for that, to being able to get to this game. And it's seeming like they're taking on the mindset of that head coach that they got. I'm not too old to forget lining up across from that head coach when he was still at Penn State and I was still playing at LSU in a national championship game. So he's got some national championship pedigree. He knows what he's doing. He's been around some high quality ball. He knows what he's doing, right? I think it was pretty impressive where he's gotten that team to right now, and we will see what they're able to do. I want to be able to say, like, they don't line up pound for pound. They don't line up player for player against whoever's going to win this game tonight. But for some reason, they found a way to give themselves a puncher's chance in every single game that they played. So maybe that's exactly what they do again next game.
No doubt. I think for me, I think both defenses last night, and we talked about this, I think both defenses last night are really good, right? Like, take away what the offenses do. I think, objectively speaking, you look at what the defenses have done, Penn State, Notre Dame, throughout the course of the year and what they look like last night, I think they're really good. They fly around the football. They have extremely talented guys up and down the defense. Abdul Carter is going to be the first defensive end taken in the draft. He'll be probably a top 5 pick this year, especially because every quarterback has decided to come back to college. And so you have some serious talent on that defense. But on the flip side, I think you saw a lot of average football on the offensive side of the game, right? So I think the defenses were really good, but I think that they were accentuated because of how average the offensive play was from both teams, not just Notre Dame, not just Penn State. I think from both teams. I think it's obvious that Freeman and Denbrock don't really trust Riley Leonard throwing the football. They trust him with the ball in his hand, running, getting first downs. He's a tough motherfucker. He gets some big yards. He gets big touchdowns. He has these things. Listen, who's their running back? Is it Jeremiah Love? Mm-hmm. That touchdown he had was awesome, right? Like, they have the elite ability to run the football. I think my only concern with them moving forward, because I love Marcus Freeman. I'm a huge Marcus Freeman fan. I love the way he's coached Notre Dame. I love the way his demeanor. I like the way he interacts with his players. I like all of that. It has nothing to do with him. I think he's a great coach. And I think he has the ability to win a national championship. But I think my concern with them moving forward is what happens when you do face a team that can stop the run, right? To where I know you really haven't faced a team yet. I mean, Penn State was supposed to, and you're able to run enough against them. But what happens whenever Riley Leonard does have to throw the ball? Is he going to be able to win the football game that way? That's my only concern.
Well, I mean, just a sidebar before Lloyd goes real quick, that happened to him last week, and they found a way to get a special teams touchdown and a turnover inside the 20, which they turned into a passing touchdown. So, like I said, they found themselves a way to give themselves a puncher's chance in every ball game that they played, so it's hard to believe that they still won't be able to find a way to do that again next game that they play.
So you like them?
Obviously, the national championship.
Do you like them winning the Natty?
I don't. I really don't. Like, I've kind of gone against them every single game they've played, and they've just been proving me wrong every single time.
Shane Gillis. No, Pat McAfee. You and Pat McAfee.
Yeah, Shane's been on him.
Yeah,
Shane's been on him,
I've been
obviously.
on board with them every time, and they just keep advancing. So there you go.
Lloyd, what's your take?
I'm with you too, Jay Mitch. I've not been impressed by, and you could say this for both teams. I think Penn State and Notre Dame aren't very good football teams, but if you've made it this far throughout the playoff, maybe Penn State was standing considering who they played. Are you reading what I just read?
Wow.
Yeah.
Should we make that announcement? No.
I mean, it's on WAFB.
It's on WAFB. You can make the announcement.
Yeah, courtesy of WAFB. Obviously, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, but one former LSU wide receiver, Ken Lacy, is wanted on charges of negligent homicide, felony hit and run. He was charged with on a hit and run following a December 17th, 2024 traffic accident that killed a former Marine and injured 2 others. After allegedly causing the crash, Lacy sped from the scene and did not report involvement. he was trying to pass on a road where you just don't pass. You can't cross the double line, allegedly speeding. 2 cars swerved to get out of his way. 1 car hit another car. Lacy saw the accident and fled the scene, and now it's all being reported now on WAFB. So you can see why probably Lacy was not involved in bowl games or anything like that. It was told to declare for the draft to kind of get your house in order.
Yeah, obviously this is all this is
Innocent
just
till proven
this
guilty.
is just recently reported. Obviously they're still investigating it, but that is what WAFB is reporting right now, not us. We're not breaking this news.
No.
This is not news that we want to break. WAFB has made this announcement, made breaking news on this ever evolving situation. And if you want to follow along, follow WAFB. They're not a sponsor of ours. They're not related. They're not affiliated with us anyway. But they obviously are better at their job than we are at breaking news.
This is Chris Nakamoto, who they just rehired. This is what he does. He's he's
great. People were so pumped he's back.
Well, this is his first story.
Yeah, people were pumped he's back.
Yeah. So the fact that it's Nakamoto makes me think that.
Where was he?
He was. Hold on. I wanted to say, driving south on LA Highway 20.
Highway 20.
I don't
Oh,
know.
20.
It's right next to a Dollar General. But, I mean, all the other information that has something to do with where people were located is like their hometowns. Thibodeau,
Yeah.
obviously both of them, so it could be somewhere.
No, I'm talking about where was Nakamoto after he left. Yeah, not.
I found him on Highway 20.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't think he was doing his own thing, or they went and pilfered him from somewhere else. But I know that he is a legend from
No doubt. People love
WAFB
him.
and what he's done in Louisiana. So that was a big get for.
Yeah.
And here he is, breaking news.
That's it. He's back in the saddle.
Hey, so let me ask this question because I didn't read the article. I just kind of so 2 people died in this thing.
It was.
I think a Marine died. 3 people maybe.
No, 1 person's dead, 2 people
2
injured.
people injured. That's what it was.
So obviously Lacy was driving, and he got into one lane. A car swerved to miss him, and I think he swerved, and another car was probably involved, obviously. And because of Lacy's reckless driving, they ended up hitting each other head on. I have the picture. So they hit each other head on. Lacy was unharmed, saw it happen, and then left the scene and didn't call the police. So that'd be a.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's a crime.
That's not good.
And they were able to draw conclusions that
Yeah, how'd they know?
Lacy was the.
Does it say in the article?
Yeah, it does.
Is there is there like cameras in that area or something? Like, how did they know that?
So as
Or is
Lacy was illegally passing the other vehicles, the driver of a northbound lane pickup truck abruptly braked and swerved to the right to avoid a head-on collision with the approaching Dodge. Traveling behind the pickup truck was a Kia Cadenza, whose driver swerved left to avoid the oncoming Dodge Charger. As the Kia Cadenza took evasive action to avoid impact with the Dodge, it crossed the center line and collided head-on with the southbound Kia Carento. Following the crash, Lacy drove around the crash scene and fled south on LA Highway 20 without stopping to render aid, call emergency services, or report his involvement in the crash.
Damn. So, but how do they know it was him? Do they have his license plate or something?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's what it's in here. I'll find it in a second.
Yeah.
But
Damn.
yeah, it is.
Hey, look, here's the deal. Like
deduced.
he was at fault for sure, but had he stayed and reported and done the necessary stuff, is he, probably not.
Well, there wouldn't be this many charges.
Yeah, probably not gonna be as bad. Wouldn't have been as bad, but that's a tough situation. We'll obviously see how that one plays out. I can't really talk much about it because it's I just learned about it. I don't really know any details other than what WFB has reported. So if you want to follow along with it and you want more details, WFB is the spot for you, not Mik'd Up.
No.
Mik'd Up is we're talking about sports right now. And what's actually happened on the field, which, Lloyd, you're about to make a...
Louisiana State Police said detectives and troopers were able to determine that Lacy was driving the Dodge Charger at the time. So that's their...
Okay.
So whatever that process entails.
They'll figure it out.
But Penn State, I never thought belonged in the playoff, even though they got in and you lose the Big Ten championship, they still get in. They have the easiest path into the championship where it goes to SMU and then Boise State. They finally face a quote-unquote real test with Notre Dame. I didn't think Notre Dame belonged either, to be honest. Like, it was a real prove-it scenario. They lose to Northern Illinois, and then they kind of go on in this run of beating teams, but none of which were good. But you still can't ignore the fact that they went, 10-1, 11-1.
And they beat Georgia, which
that's
I
what I'm saying. That getting now when they get into, I thought that's where they would stumble
to get there.
Right, and then they win their playoff game against Georgia, and that kind of validated them in my mind a bit. But this game I thought was, and I'm still pissed at Mikie for taking the over because this was an under game the entire way.
The whole way. And I just, for some reason, and like my hunches don't ever pan out, ever.
This one shouldn't have.
And this one did.
They scored.
I had the under selected. I had I was about to submit it, and I was like, man, it just, when you get that feeling in your gut, and you're like, this doesn't feel right. The other one feels right. I was like, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with the over.
It was 10-10 going.
For 3 quarters, I was like, this is no chance I'm hitting the over.
10-10 going into the fourth quarter.
I was hoping for overtime.
Well,
that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, that's a prayer.
I was hoping that when it was like, damn, 17-17 seems like
maybe they could
get to overtime, and then I'll sneak the over, and it worked out in regulation.
Yeah, so they go on to score.
Didn't even need the.
Well, that's a hell of a hope right there to throw in a bet hoping for overtime.
Yeah, like
no. I was hoping for overtime as the game was going on.
Yeah,
not after the bet was already thrown in there. Whenever I saw the score in the fourth was 10-10, I was like, damn, I need overtime.
These teams are so evenly matched; they're definitely going to overtime.
Yeah, no. It was it's 10-10 going in the fourth quarter.
Let me throw in this bet because I think this thing's going to overtime. That's crazy work. I thought that's what you were saying.
No, I got the sports almanac. I can predict the future. No. I was saying this going into the fourth quarter when the score was 10-10.
Yeah, he was. That was a prayer.
Yeah, I was praying as the game was going on. Like, damn,
I need overtime.
The whole time thinking like, I'm an idiot. Why did I do that?
Yeah,
I knew I should have picked the under. It was an under game every day of the week. And it worked out.
I got the rug pulled out from under me. I was like, this feels great to watch this. I'm just watching this rock fight. I was like, keep it going, boys. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth quarter happened where it is a 17-14 fourth quarter where these teams scored 31 points combined, which is an underkiller. And I still only missed it by a field goal.
What was it? No, you missed it by more than that. Huh?
I had it 48.5.
Oh, I did not. I had it at.
No, was it 46?
I think I had it at 46.
Yeah, I adjusted it 1.5 points because I got it at 47 because I did this a while ago.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'll buy it to 48.5 just in case it becomes one of those wonky scores. And that wasn't enough points.
Yeah, 24-24. I had already gotten it. The field goal didn't matter, but I mean, obviously, you had to score.
Yeah,
more points
you didn't want overtime.
Someone had to win.
Yeah, that's where I was like, there's no way. I'm cooked.
You know what's wild about the game? Drew Aller.
Stud.
Was 12 of 25, I think, or 11 of 23, whatever. It was under 50%.
12 of 23 for 135.
With one interception. 0 of 4 with an interception while targeting wide receivers. Right now, you may say, okay, no wide receiver had a catch, no wide receiver had a yard in this game, receiving yard in this game, right? Which that obviously is bad in and of itself. I think what's even worse is that there was only 4 targeted. You only had 4 attempts at your wide receivers. You threw everything to your tight end or you ran the football, and somehow you still scored 24 points. Kind of wild.
What's wild to me is that before the game and throughout this past week, the conversation was starting to turn to what it basically turned to last year for J.J. McCarthy, where it was like nobody really talked about him as like a top dude all year. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, I know he said he's coming back, but he is possible. You don't have to do either. And they're doing this, and he looks like this, and this is that. Yeah, I think that conversation is nixed at this point. I think he's coming back after that one.
Yeah, no, well, and that's the thing, because all the other quarterbacks decide to come back to school, right? Minus Shador, minus Cam Ward, and the top 2 guys. So they're like, well, this is a quarterback class now. And maybe he has an opportunity if he continues to play well in the postseason to ascend to potentially a first-round pick, maybe back into the first round, becoming the guy in waiting somewhere, whatever it is. And, boy, did he say, oh, just joking, I'm going to come back to school. I ain't got no decision now.
No decision. The funniest thing was, I was watching Mik'd went live right after the game ended, and he does he was watching the last probably 2 minutes of the game, and to see how these NFL guys that make predictions for draft class and all this, how he was actively rooting for Alar to do something because he doesn't want to be wrong. And then after he throws, he goes, oh, well, he goes, looks like you're going back to school, bud. Throws an interception right there.
He said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
they want to be.
I love how.
Go Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying the same thing you are probably. It's like I love how they can shape the narrative so quickly of like, hey, if he has 2 games here and balls out, like watch out for Drew Lahr at the top of the first round,
Right.
and then you have to watch him go, this is a fucking terrible idea. Like I wouldn't take him with a 10-foot pole now.
And look, I'm glad you talked about narratives.
Yes.
Because we're about to get to some narratives that I think people are starting to create,
it's all in the
or
chat.
talk about, and debate, right? Which debate is a good thing in America, right? You can have everybody's entitled to their opinions. Everybody can have an idea about certain things, especially if there's not real fact to it. It's just, hey, that's the beauty of sports. That's the beauty of sports shows, to be able to have these conversations. And a big narrative right now is Notre Dame. Obviously, Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, they're in a national championship game, right? Brian Kelly, who I will look, a caveat to all of this. I'm not even defending Brian Kelly. He's a very easy person to dislike, right? He was disliked at Notre Dame. He's disliked at LSU. People around the country don't like him, not because he's a coach at LSU, not because he's a coach at Notre Dame. I think just because he's Brian Kelly. Like that's just he's easy to not like. I'm gonna give that as a caveat, right? And I think that goes into some of the narratives, but the narrative obviously is Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame are in the national championship game. LSU and Brian Kelly are on their couches. They're in Cabo.
Yamaha.
You know, they're in Yamaha, right? They're not winning. They haven't made the playoff yet. This is obviously Marcus Freeman's first year in the playoffs, but he's made a run to the national championship game. He hasn't won it yet, but he's there, right? Brian Kelly hasn't even made it to the postseason yet at LSU, and he came here because it was supposed to be quote unquote easier for them to win. So I want to give this to y'all because me and Jared had a nice conversation off air. Lloyd stayed quiet, but this is your time to chime in, Lloyd, to this conversation. And I'm gonna let Jared go first because Jared, listen, and we're not far off in our conversation. Like I think we both agree what the situation is. But as far as optics go, Jay, what do you feel on the topic of obviously Brian Kelly at LSU, Marcus Freeman doing what he's doing at Notre Dame?
So you got to understand, too, put this in the right vacuum, which is optics don't necessarily mean the results and or what is going to come down the pike. Optics are just that. It's just what it looks like. I think right now in this situation, it looks really bad for Brian Kelly. I think it looks even worse for Brian Kelly if Notre Dame goes out and wins it. I also still think it looks pretty damn bad for him if they go out and play a very competitive game in the championship. And it's not because you got to understand, I'm saying this in the sense of that's just the optics of it. I'm not saying that gets him fired, but I do think I'm in the world of thinking as far as you go, as long as you keep going, unless it's we get into the playoffs, LSU is in the playoffs every year and they're winning 1 to 2 and or more games in the playoffs every year. I do think the optics of whatever's happening at Notre Dame, that if it is better than what's going on at LSU, the optics of it is we got the wrong guy. Not saying that the right guy is definitely Marcus Freeman, but maybe saying that somebody else should have been the guy because the guy that they got doing what he was doing at Notre Dame is beating what he's doing here. And I get it. It's not apples to apples. You don't play the same schedule. They're not in a conference. I get it. But at the end of the day, is if I broke up with a girlfriend because I chose to move on to say I'm gonna go win and I got a better chance, not easier. I think easier is the wrong word in this situation, but I got a better chance to win national championships at this place, and you keep getting bounced earlier than the place that you just left. It's not a good look. And at the end of the day, that conversation is only gonna grow and grow and grow as long as Notre Dame is doing better. That's the optics of it. Now, that does not mean that is what is going to get him either fired or keep him hired, but it is the optics of it.
Right. I think present day, right, and we agree on this. I think present day, as it speaks right now, optics do not look good. Right now, you can, there's arguments on the other side of it. Say, okay, well, Brian Kelly made it to a national championship game, didn't win it. People are saying, oh, Marcus Freeman has to win the national championship game for this to matter. I don't agree with that. I think that the optics as it is right now are bad because, hey, Brian Kelly said what he said, and I don't think it's, hey, we're comparing what Brian Kelly's doing at LSU to what Marcus Freeman is doing at Notre Dame. I think to me, the optics, if you go just turn it to just strictly Notre Dame, Brian Kelly has stated he is leaving Notre Dame because he has a better opportunity to have and the resources to make a run at a national or to win a national championship at LSU. That is what he said in his press conference on why he left Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman now is at Notre Dame and has an opportunity to win a national championship at the same school that Brian Kelly left because he thought was it had a better opportunity here. Now, if that's where I think the optics are bad, because you left there to come here to go win a national championship and you haven't done shit here and he's about to win it. So, yeah, of course the optics, as it stands, are bad. I think for me, when you get paid the 9-year or 10-year, $10 million contract, you get that in itself is hey, I don't care what anybody else does in this country. We're giving you this because I need you to win the football. I need you to win national championship game. If you don't win national championship game, I don't give a shit what anyone else is doing. You're fired. And that's the only thing that, and like you said, it's optics as of right now, I think it looks terrible. Now, obviously, yes, Marcus Freeman has to go out and win it, and it remains to be seen what actually happens in the future because we can't predict the future. Brian Kelly has I will say this, though. Brian Kelly has zero excuses going into next year. First year, you can say, okay, you had a team that really – you can even wipe out the first year. Even though you made it to the SEC championship game, you had a team that had nobody. You had to go get recruits. You had to go figure it out. You had to go fill a roster, right? You didn't have a full year of recruiting. I understand that. All those guys you filled in, a lot of them hit. You ended up being competitive in your first year. I think that was ahead of schedule because nobody expected that to happen. But most of those guys left. You try to do it again year 2, right? Now you have a full year of recruiting. Your mistake, big mistake, firing all the guys that were really good at Louisiana recruiting. So you tried to recruit nationally here in Louisiana. He learned quickly that does not work, right? Our defense was piss poor. We had a world-class offense, a world-class quarterback, and we squandered it because our defense was so bad because of the decisions that we made as far as the hiring and firing process goes and the personnel that we had on our team. So then you correct that. Okay, you're gone. Okay, now let's bring in all the other guys that we believe are really good Louisiana recruiters, right, that understand the culture of LSU and that has been here and had success here. You bring it in, now your recruiting classes start to ramp up. You start to bring in those guys. Brian Kelly said, okay, we're not going to spend that money on the portal this year because we believe in getting these young guys and developing them. Well, he got burned on that this year, right? So then going into next year, you say, okay, we're going to correct that. Now we're going to go hit the portal hard. We're still going to recruit really well. We have a really good team. This is the best team that we had, the most resources that we have. We spent the money in NIL on the transfer portal. We brought in high-level experienced recruits. Now you have zero excuse. Offensive coordinator has 2 years in the experience. You have a 6-year quarterback. You have a whole defensive staff, probably the best, most paid defensive staff in the country, arguably the best defensive staff, top to bottom, coaching-wise, in the country. You have zero excuse to going into next year on winning. Now, you don't win next year, you don't get to the playoffs next year, it's gonna get real loud.
I want to put this out there too, just so people can kind of understand as to why I keep talking about the optics of it, because I do think this becomes very important as you go forward, right? Going to start this 2024 season, actually, let's go back. The 2023 season, which obviously ended in 2024 with whoever won the national championship. Right at the end of that season, there was 4 active coaches who won a national championship. Within a week, one of them retired. At the end of the 2024 season, before the playoffs started, another one of those active coaches who had a championship, he got fired. So right now there's 2 active NCAA head coaches with national championships. So when we hired you, yes, of course, LSU wants Brian Kelly to win a national championship. The likelihood of that actually truly really happening is very small. So when we look at it and sit here and say, well, where are you at? And what are you doing compared to where you just left? And if they keep outperforming you, it's never going to be a good situation for them. Is that going to be the thing that gets him fired? No, I don't think so. Because there's a world where you could be in the semifinals every year and never get to the championship, and you could be doing just the same thing as them. And maybe they get through and break through and they win one. That could happen. I'm not saying that he's going to get fired because of something like that. I'm just saying that as long as they're playing better, it's not going to look good for Brian. And that's just the simple facts of it.
Yeah, obviously you're going to always have people that compare and contrast both those teams, right? And I'm in the group of like, yeah, those conversations are going to happen, right, between the fans and the media and the people who do all this stuff, right? All the people like having conversations about this, right? And that's a normal and a natural thing to do. And I have no doubt that those conversations are going to get more heated and a lot and loud. But I'm in the camp of saying, hey, we gave you a 10-year, $10 million deal. Like, I don't care what anyone else is doing. I'm not comparing you. I'm comparing you to, are you putting us in a situation to compete for national championships and get in the playoffs every year? If you're not, you're gone. We hired you to do that, you're gone, right? And I don't, and like I said, it's not like I'm disagreeing because I do believe the optics are bad, but I'm more in the camp of, hey, you win and you get the playoffs and you put us in a situation that compete for a national championship game, you're fine. You don't do that, which is what we hired you to do, and we're paying you top dollar to do it. You don't do it, you're out. And I think that's what's going to happen, right? I don't think that it's going to be, oh, they won this many games, you won this many games, whatever. And I know you're not saying that, Jay. I know you're not saying that. I'm just kind of putting some more context behind it. Lloyd, what do you think?
I said this a little bit before the show, before we actually, y'all had a very spirited debate going into this thing, and I was of the guys that two things can be true at once. Like,
I agree.
And there's always going to be, for better or worse, there will always be comparisons between LSU and Notre Dame because of the way that Brian Kelly left Notre Dame. And don't get it twisted. While it's loud right now, even this, to like Jared's point, this is enough noise to where like you can see that LSU and its contingency is watching Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's looking at LSU and laughing whenever. This is exactly where Brian Kelly has gotten Notre Dame. He's been in this spot before, and so they're already counting this as a success. Right. But until I think it gets like considerably louder, if Notre Dame wins the national championship and is able to finish the job so that Brian Kelly could never do, despite having like perennial 10-win teams.
Well, and that's what I'm about to say, right? Like I'm not, and there's no excuses. These are no. I'm not saying. I'm not justifying what Brian Kelly is doing right now, right? Like I'm not. This is not what I'm about to say is not doing that. But what I am going to say is the landscape of football has significantly changed, right? Since Brian Kelly made the move from Notre Dame to LSU, right? His tenure at Notre Dame, had they had the 12-team playoff like they do right now, he would have had more opportunities to be in the playoffs based off of his seasons. Based off the 10, 11-win seasons that he had at Notre Dame, he would have been in the playoffs more often than not, right?
He finished Notre Dame from 2017, 10-3, 2018, 12-1, 2019, 11-2, 2020, 10-2, got to the Rose Bowl, 2021, 11-1.
Yeah, so I think outside of 17, the three lost teams not going to get there, but the other four teams, I think, 4 years, I think he's in the playoffs, the 12-team playoffs.
Right, but that doesn't mean you can't assume that he's going to win one.
No doubt, you can't. Exactly, that's where that ends.
But I would wonder if he did get to
that's where that ends.
A college football playoff that many times and never won one. I wonder what the optics around him would be like if he would have played both sides.
Right.
Of it.
And that was the conversation.
That's where I'm going with the conversation because that's where I believe. Like I agree with you. What he did at Notre Dame had him in the playoffs, but now I think it's fair to say, man, like once you get to the playoffs, these are nationally televised. Yeah. Everybody's watching them. Everybody's got eyes on them. These are the big games. These are these marquee SEC games that everyone talks about. These are big games. So now that team is there and they're winning these games, whether or not they win the national championship or not, and you're not matching and are doing better than that, I think, that conversation becomes super loud. I will never say that behind closed doors, that is the reason why he either gets fired or they slide a piece of paper across and say, here's your extension. I'm not going to sit here and say that. But you're not going to, I will never believe that those conversations aren't happening with the people that are making the decisions as well.
Yeah, if anything, you would hope that this does some sort of, if Notre Dame is able to continue to go, but I would fire up Brian Kelly even more so because the noise does get louder and he doesn't want the optics around him to be, damn, I said I couldn't do it at Notre Dame. Somebody just did it at Notre Dame despite the situation's changing. The situation's changed for you too, Bub.
Yeah,
like it's
no
easier to get talent to LSU.
Yeah.
You've had
now
3 recruiting classes
twofold.
and six swings in the portal, and you haven't put together a winner yet.
Right, and that's twofold, right? You have the ability to get more resources. The talent pool down here is a little bit different than it is up in Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame's got to recruit nationally. You can recruit a little bit more locally, which is easier, right? So yeah, that side is better. But then you say, okay, well, the competition that you're playing year in and year out and the schedule-wise is significantly different than you were doing at Notre Dame. So that's a twofold conversation, right? It's like, okay, well, it's easier to get the talent here, but the path is harder. Like, that's what Jared said. I don't want to say it's easier. He said there's more opportunity. Easier is not the correct word here.
But I think that, at least for this year, that narrative gets dispelled because Notre Dame beat Georgia. Like, if Notre Dame had got – no, I'm just saying. Because what was the knock on Notre Dame? You can get them to the dance, but they can't dance.
Well, right. But – and look, anybody can –
And you got to think about the way they beat him, too. The way they beat him. Like, it's – we never – they had the special teams touchdown. They had the turnovers. But they were physical in that game.
Yeah,
they out-physical Georgia.
Yeah,
and that's not even a question.
Yeah, they did.
So we can't sit here and say, oh, you got lucky with this or this and that and that.
No doubt.
They beat them. They straight up beat them.
100%. And I give all the credit to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's a good team. I think Marcus Freeman's a really good coach. But we're talking about the conversation surrounding both of these coaches. And to me, I think, and I understand it. And I'm not saying you're wrong. Nobody's wrong or right. I think we're both right in both different ways. You think that the optics are going to, that has nothing to do with firing or anything like that, but the optics are bad. And in my mind, it's, hey, if regardless of what Notre Dame does, good or bad, let's say good. Regardless of them winning games and making to the playoffs, if Brian Kelly isn't doing that here, he's getting fired anyway. If Notre Dame isn't doing well, right, and Brian Kelly isn't doing well, Brian Kelly's still fired. It's not going to ease that thing. That's the only thing I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing with you because I think the optics are bad and they're going to continue to get bad, and I think people are going to continue to talk. Emmanuel Acho comes out there and has this monologue about how Notre Dame, Brian Kelly, exactly what we're saying. Brian Kelly left because he couldn't win it there, and Marcus Freeman's doing exactly what Brian Kelly said he couldn't do, which is false right now because he hasn't won it yet. But he obviously is in a position to win it, and Brian Kelly right now is not.
That's where the conversation begins and kind of ends, but also Brian Kelly did this to himself. Whenever he said what he
shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, well, how many times are we going to say that about him?
Right.
This is what he does. He continues to put himself in corners, and at some point you're gonna.
That's what makes him not likable to people around the country.
Because the way that he speaks on certain issues, it's always never me. It's always something that wasn't done or not my fault. And when he goes to Notre Dame, I didn't have the resources. Come to LSU, you do have the resources. And
then he comes to LSU and he says the 3-year thing. That put him in a bad corner.
Well, he also came to LSU and tried to change the culture of what it was to make it match almost what Notre Dame is.
Right.
And you just fled that because you can't win that way. That's what you came here for. So if you come to LSU, you can't come with this pompous attitude of
100%.
Do it my way. I'm going to fire everybody here that was instilled in the program and would made it great and bring in my own guys. You set yourself back on that entire time clock because you were ignorant to the fact.
You set yourself back 2 years.
Yes.
Your first year, I'm going to even give you a pass on the first year. The first year is not.
That was his best year.
Unbelievable what you made to the SEC championship game. Kudos to you for doing that. And you changed a lot of the culture, but that first year you had to go and bring in a bunch of guys to go out and fill a roster, and you weren't able to recruit at the level that you wanted to because you didn't have time. And I will give you that, right? But all those guys you brought in the portal all left, right? So you only had them for it was a rent team for a year, right? And then you try to do it again, right? You have a lot of those guys on offense that you landed, you hit on the offensive lineman, right? So you had some really good talent on the offensive line. You have a really good talent in your quarterback position, right? He's a Heisman Trophy winner, and you got the talent on the outside. So you have offensive talent, and so all the guys that left in the portal all were on the defensive side. So you got to do it again. Now you swung and missed on that. Right, and that's when you saw. That's when it kind of went downhill. That was your first recruiting year. So that was after you fired your guys, right? So that put you back. That's what you said. Like you lost that year because you thought that it was better to do it the way that you came from as opposed to understanding where you're at now.
Right, and so that's what. And then he goes and with all of that recruiting said, he has to go back and redo an entire staff. Brings back people that were already in the building, which is mind-numbing. And then after the recruiting and not seeing the landscape change before it does, it's hard to fault somebody for that. But it was in the tea leaves if you'd been paying attention to how college football was operating. And Brian Kelly has notoriously been one step behind. There's nothing you can say to right that wrong except for he goes, oh, material change. Like, this is how we're going to do it now. So he continues to speak and not know exactly what direction LSU is headed because I don't know if I still don't know how involved he is.
Well, and here's the deal, right? With all of that, you had
it feels like he's listening to a lot of people.
All of those years, all of those things I said, like excuse after the first year, excuse after the second year, new coaches this year, new quarterback. This year, last year, you didn't do the portal stuff that you needed to. You didn't spend the money. You did it this year. You made every single correction over the first 3 years. You have no excuse going into year 4.
None.
Zero. You know what I mean? Like, you have you definitely have the best roster top to bottom that you've had since you've been at LSU going into 2025.
And you have the best coaching staff
you have the best coaching staff that you've had since 2025.
This is where he's run out of things to say.
There's
to where it has to be. This will fall squarely on him.
Yeah, 100%.
I think when I talk about optics, for me, I would sit here and say this: outside of winning national championships, like literally winning national championships, I'm under the mindset of just like the public will look at it and say Alabama's better than LSU. Nick Saban's better than all the coaches combined that's been at LSU, and it doesn't really matter how good or how great LSU has been because you look at that side and you say that's better. I think outside of winning national championships, which will obviously put you ahead of the other, if you're not outperforming Marcus Freeman and what Notre Dame's doing, I'm not saying he's going to get fired. What I'm going to say is they're going to sit here and say, damn, we got the wrong guy. I think that's pretty obvious. I think that's pretty fair to say that at that point.
Well, right. And I guess what I'm saying, and I think we're saying the same thing, we're just saying it 2 different ways, right? If you're not outperforming, let's say Marcus Freeman's making it to the playoffs every year.
And he should.
And he should. Based off of their schedule, based off of they have to play. Like he should be in that mix on the 12 teams, right? If he's making that every year, and Brian Kelly is not making the playoffs, Brian Kelly is getting fired. But I believe Brian Kelly is getting fired if he's not making the playoffs anyway. That's all I'm saying.
That's not what I'm saying because I'm saying let's say they are both making the playoffs and they keep going deeper. And they keep going deeper, meaning like say they win one game and you get bounced in the first. Say they win the first 2 games and get to the semifinals, you win one and get bounced in the second. Say you get to the semifinals, they get to the championship. As long as Notre Dame is doing better, you can sit here and make a case say we got the wrong guy. I think that's fair to say at that point.
And I'm not saying it's not fair. I am under the impression that I'm saying unless Notre Dame is winning national championships and you're making the playoffs and you're not. If they're going out there and Notre Dame makes a little bit of a run, doesn't win it, LSU wins a game, doesn't win it, whatever. I think until someone's winning national championships, that's when they start getting really comparison. Now, if Notre Dame's
there's 2 guys that have won national championships, right?
I understand that.
I think it's ridiculous as hell to sit here and say you got to win a national championship to say one's a hero.
But I'm not saying.
Crazy.
But if you're both in the playoffs and you're both making runs and nobody's winning anything, it doesn't matter.
There's about to be 3.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. That's my point.
There's about to be 3.
Like if you're both in the playoffs every year and you're both, let's say you get bounced in the first round, or you win the first one, you get bounced after the first game, and the other guy's winning the first 2, but he's not winning anything. You're not winning anything. You're just extending the season.
Okay.
So
right, you're right. That's 100% right. You're just extending the season. But if we got 5 years of that being the case and one's 7-3 and the other one's 4-6, how are we gonna sit here and say they're the same? We can't sit here and say that.
I don't think that's gonna make that go exponentially louder because he hasn't won anything. I really don't. I think that if they're consistently making it to the playoffs and LSU is not, he's getting fired. Right? People are going to make it about, oh, look, he's better. We got the wrong guy. And I think it would be evident that LSU got the wrong guy because he's not winning it. He's not making it into the playoffs. I think that would be evident. That's where I'm saying. I'm not. The optics are always going to be bad.
Respectfully disagree. If Notre Dame keeps outperforming LSU, I'm not saying that Marcus Freeman was the right guy. I think it's fair to say you got the wrong guy at that point. That's all I'm saying.
I get that, but if you're both in the playoffs and you're both not winning, I don't think that conversation ramps up to the level that you're saying it's going to ramp up to because he's not winning it. It's not. They're not going to compare back. If they're going to compare him if he wins it, that's what I'm saying.
What if they both play?
I mean,
if every year they're in the playoffs and they're going head to head every single year, and Marcus Freeman is beating Brian Kelly every year, All right, that's the conversation. He is the better coach.
Mikey.
He's beating him head to head.
Mikey, that's fair to look at it that way from your side, but then you're not really looking at what's going on because I'm not the one having this conversation. It's already going on in the media.
I know
so
that.
You can't say they're not going to compare them if they're not winning. Yes, they are because they're already doing
But
it.
I already said the media is talking. That was how I introduced this topic, was that the media is doing that. But nothing is, that's always going to happen. They compare quarterbacks that get drafted first and second all the time. Right, like that's always gonna be a conversation, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if they're both making the playoffs and nobody's winning anything, I don't think that it gets extremely loud. I think that if Marcus Freeman wins it and Brian Kelly's not winning it, or Marcus Freeman's in the perennially playoff team and Brian Kelly's never making it, that's when it gets extremely loud. That's what I think.
Coach, I think it's fair to say. I think it's fair to say it's pretty loud right now when one's being talked about that's not even in the playoffs.
I agree, and
it's pretty loud.
It's loud because he's not in the playoffs. I agree with that, but it's because he's not in the playoffs. I don't think it's loud. It's loud regardless because he left to go there and he's not in the playoffs. I don't think Now, actually, let me take that back. This year, that's what I said. This year the optics are really bad because the first year of the 12-team playoff and Marcus Freeman is in, no doubt. We're talking long term. If that continues to happen, Brian Kelly's out, but it's not because Marcus Freeman is in the playoffs all the time. It's because he can't get to the playoffs. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I've already said it multiple times here. I'm not saying that this is going to be a deciding factor if he gets fired or not. I'm just saying it's the optics part of it.
Well, and I agree with that at the beginning. Well, that's exactly how I introed this topic. Was the optics are not good.
That's what I'm saying. For better, for better or worse, there'll always be compared.
For sure, that's
just part of it.
100%.
And if LSU goes and wins the national championship, I don't think Notre Dame is looking at it the same way that LSU is. I think that's where the optics are different. As LSU does have to keep an eye on what happens at Notre Dame because of who you pulled. Notre Dame upgraded a defensive coach to their head coach. They probably didn't have playoff expectations in year 3. But here you are, and now that's going to get louder for Marcus Freeman year after year after this.
And his expectations are loud now too, right? Now, let's say if he doesn't win it and then Brian Kelly wins it, do you think that it's going to be loud on his end? Like, damn, you had your shot, you didn't do it, and now
no. Lloyd just said that. I'm with Lloyd on that. He just said
I was just asking a question.
Anything that he does in that situation.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just asking the question. I don't think it does either.
Yeah, I think this is just a one-off. This is a Brian Kelly problem. And
I agree. I think it's a Brian Kelly problem. Because you don't like Brian Kelly.
They got Marcus Freeman in year 3 bringing Notre Dame to a national championship, and they haven't been there since Brian Kelly did it. But he's extended his time considerably at Notre Dame.
No doubt.
And now you're fighting
100%.
people off so you don't lose Marcus Freeman. You could come take Brian Kelly from LSU if you wanted to pay his buyout next year, and if he misses the college football playoff, you'd be trying to sell him away. Like, that's where Brian Kelly is in his career, and Marcus Freeman has just begun his coaching career.
100%.
That's the difference of how these two things are viewed. What Brian Kelly has done in the media, what he's done at the national landscape, he's not going to win anybody over.
Nope.
He has to continue to wear the black hat and be the villain.
And he has to win.
And the only arc for him to be successful is to snap his fingers.
Yep.
Like, you have to go, look, I did it.
Yeah.
Everything y'all said about me is wrong.
He's got to go and win. He's got to go and win a national championship.
That's where the national championship matters.
Yeah.
If Marcus Freeman continues to make the playoff and make good runs at it, they'll be fine with that because you'll win another one. Like, he has the time to be able to get to the dance again. And look at what Jerry Burrow has done with the Bengals. Like, while the window is not always massive or it's not as big as you ever think it is, you still extend your life at wherever you are. And that's the same thing for Zach Taylor. That's probably a better example. But for Marcus Freeman just getting here, Notre Dame fans could be thrilled. I was listening to a Notre Dame fan talk about it this morning on Le Batard. That girl went there, and she was, I'm good right now. Like, don't have to win it.
Right.
Because we haven't been here in so long. LSU was yearning to get back where they think they belong, which is in the national title discussion every single year. You brought Brian Kelly here to win the national championship,
right?
And he said he could.
Right.
And that's where people are drawing the comparisons of, man, are you the right guy for the job? You've had a lot of time and a lot.
And here's the deal:
things have changed. Like you want to give Notre Dame credit for the 12-team playoff and the transfer portal and NIL. LSU was playing on the same playing field with probably more advantages, and you still weren't able to do it.
And I will say this though, and I will say I agree with that. Everything you just said.
All because of your own missteps.
Huh?
All because of his own missteps.
Exactly right. I will say I agree with everything that you just said. Like, I don't have anything to say. And I lost my train of thought of what I had a good point that I was about to tell you, and I forgot what I was going to say. I'll let you chime in, Jared, until I remember what I was going to say.
No, dude, I am on the same train as Lloyd. I think for as long as Brian Kelly holds this LSU job, he will be compared optics wise to what and who and whatever is going on at Notre Dame. And optics wise, he better be doing better or it's not going to look good for him. I'm not saying that that's going to mean his job is gone. I'm not saying that that's going to mean he gets extensions. I'm saying that the acceptance level will be lower and lower as long as that place is doing better than this place. I don't think that's much of a.
No,
I don't think it's hard to even debate.
Look, I'm not.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I think what we're disagreeing is what's better, right? You're saying if they're both making the playoffs and Notre Dame is getting one win more than LSU, is that better if Notre Dame's not winning it? And that's where I'm saying I think if Notre Dame is winning it or getting there and LSU's not, that's better. He's going to get fired, but I think he's getting fired. You're not talking about getting fired. Again, it's optics. He's getting fired if he's not making the playoffs regardless, right? But then if Notre Dame is getting to the playoffs and LSU is getting to the playoffs and they're both doing whatever but nobody's winning anything, and it's like, okay, well, you came here to win a national championship. You haven't done that. But Marcus Freeman's expectations are a lot different than Brian Kelly's, where you're making the playoffs, you're a good coach. That's great. But I don't think anybody's going to say, oh, we have to be one game better than them unless somebody is winning national championships. Like if Marcus Freeman wins national championships and Brian Kelly's getting the playoffs, they're both getting the playoffs, but then Marcus Freeman wins a national championship, oh, you're doing better because you've actually won something. But if you haven't, then you're both kind of just not winning anything. You're just getting to the dance, but you're not winning.
I think you're talking about this, and I could be wrong, but the way I'm perceiving the way you're talking about this is if, like, at the end of it, a decision's gonna be made.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, so then I think it is fair to say if they continually keep winning one game more than us, they're the better team, they're the better program. I don't know how we can go against that.
Yeah, I mean, I just think if you're not winning and you're just making it to the semifinals or quarterfinals, you're not winning.
Well, what are rankings then? What are rankings? Because there's only one team winning at the end of every year. We're going to be able to rank you, and that team's winning more than us. They're the better program.
I know,
that's pretty easy to say.
I understand, but what have you won if you're just getting to the semifinals and not the finals or winning the finals?
Yeah, you just feel like your program's in a better spot.
But if one's getting if one's getting to the quarterfinals and one's getting to the finals, and it's not like you're getting blown out. Let's say you have some things don't go your way, like it's.
Well, then that's the conversation about Brian
Kelly. That's the conversation.
That's the conversation.
Well, and that's what I said. That's when it turns to Brian Kelly. I don't think it turns to the teams. I think it turns to him. I think that's where the narrative turns to is, hey, you can't win those games. Yeah. You're not the right guy because you can't win those games.
That's why I wish we had the 12-team sample size for the last 10 years. So
right.
You've known, that's such a knock against you if you get to the playoff and then you can't win. It's like you're the problem.
100%. Right, winning tough games in the regular season, that's one thing, right? Because you're going through the gauntlet. Maybe some guys get hurt, maybe whatever. But then you get to the postseason, and it's like, all right, now you're playing the best of the best. Can you win those games? And that's going to be the narrative, because the narrative was when he was at Notre Dame was he couldn't win the big game, right? Now he comes to the SEC. Even if he's getting into the SEC championship games, or he's winning SEC and he's making it to the playoffs, yeah, he's winning the big games in the regular season, no doubt. But then you get to the postseason, that narrative, because people are always going to do that. They always move it backwards. They always try to fit their narrative. They're going to start saying, see, you can't win the big games when it matters in the playoffs. You couldn't win the national championship game, couldn't do it in the playoffs. Now you can't you can't win in the playoffs. That's what they're going to say. That's what the narrative is going to turn to. And obviously, that's all hypothetical.
That kind of goalpost moving is only to get to a narrow point of being able to figure out what is the problem.
Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly came to LSU because that's fair. But Brian Kelly came to LSU because year in and year out, when he's going 12-1 and 10-2 and 11-1, it was because their one big game was in the playoffs against a team that was supposedly better when he didn't have as good of players. So that conversation of why he's at LSU and not at Notre Dame is not going to be the same reason 5 years down the road if that team keeps doing better than you and you're not winning as much.
I understand that, but when you talk about optics, that's what people are talking. This is what people are going to talk about. That's how the narratives change. They do it to everybody, right? They do it to when Bill Belichick and Tom Brady were in New England. Oh, Bill Belichick makes Tom Brady. Now Tom Brady leaves, he's not going to be good. Well, Tom Brady wins the national championship. Super Bowl. Now Bill Belichick only won because Tom Brady. The narratives naturally change from the media based off of what the results are happening on the field. That's all I'm saying. we're all talking hypotheticals, right? The issue was Brian Kelly. Nobody liked Brian Kelly when he was at Notre Dame. Couldn't win the big games, right? That was the knock. Hey, you do this. You got to the national championship, couldn't win, can't win the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. Okay, boom. Now you come to LSU because you have more resources. You're playing tougher competition in the regular season. You get to the postseason, you can't win games there. That same narrative is just going to get moved to that because it's Brian Kelly issue, not where you're at issue. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but this.
Okay, and so to just put it back, tie it back into the same situation, right? Once again, if that Notre Dame team or program is doing just one game better every time, would it or would not be, well, man, if we had that guy instead of this guy, we'd be one game closer. We'd be one decision better. We'd be that much closer. We think we'd have that much more.
See, I think if they're both in the playoffs and one's doing one game better and not winning it, I don't think that conversation is that loud, to be honest with you. Now, if Marcus Freeman is doing one game better but winning a national championship or playing for national championship games, then that's a conversation. But if they're not getting there or playing there, what are we missing out on? Getting to the semifinals and not playing in the national championship
year. That's why the conversation started.
I understand. I understand. Brian Kelly made it too. If he wins it, that's what I said before the show, right at the beginning of the show. If they win it,
you just said just now if he wins it or if he's getting there. They're there this year.
Over the course of Brian Kelly made it to the national championship too and didn't win it. That's the whole conversation.
Where's he at this year?
Nowhere. That's my point over the long term of this. If he doesn't win it, neither one of them has won shit. That's what I'm saying. If he doesn't win it, neither one of them has won anything. Your conversation was if Notre Dame is one game better than LSU but not winning it, is it a better program? If they don't win anything, they're both in the playoffs. Not this year, over the long term of their career. Now, if Marcus Freeman wins it, the conversation completely skyrockets. No doubt about it. But Brian Kelly made a national championship game and didn't win it. So now Marcus Freeman.
You literally just said, not me, like you just said, if he's winning it or
over the long, you're flipping two conversations into one right now. You're flipping two. You said year after year, if Notre Dame is one game better than LSU, we didn't talk about winning a national. You said winning a national championship is hard. Year after year, if Notre Dame is one game better than LSU, is that a better thing? That's over the course of the thing. This year, Notre Dame is a better team than LSU. If they win it, yeah, obviously that's going to be a notch on his belt. Now Brian Kelly has to win one. But if they don't win it, okay, hey, look, we both made it to the national championship game. We both lost. Now, if LSU is perennially in the playoffs, just like Notre Dame, and Notre Dame never makes it back to the national championship game and never wins anything, and Brian Kelly doesn't do it either, and they're both getting knocked out before, to me, it's like you haven't won anything. You can't say, oh, you're better. But if you go there and you win a national championship or you actually win something, you can say you're better. That's my opinion on it.
Well, okay. So, and here's, I guess, so this has been convoluted because we haven't brought up this point the entire time, but I brought it up to y'all, right? If they keep one-upping us, and right now we're still paying more for a coach than they are, what conversation are we having at that point?
Well, they're not going to
getting more.
They're going to end up
for less.
They're going to end up paying him more. I mean, that's the thing. You pay for.
We can't get going to end up, Mikey.
You can't listen to me. This guy had no head coaching experience. This guy no head coaching experience. Of course, he's going to get paid less.
If you're going to say, wait, time out. There's no way. Because if you're going to say that neither coach is going to win a national championship, but the programs are going to keep doing basically what we just said, they're going to keep kind of getting there, but not really winning. With Brian Kelly's past, with what he's done, with the time that he's had, and with Marcus Freeman's past, and the time that he's done, and the two conferences and all of that, you're not going to sit here and tell me that he's going to be end up making more or whatever. He may get somewhere close, but he's not going to trump what Brian Kelly's making.
You can't bring contracts right now because Marcus Freeman got hired as a first-time head coach.
Okay, that's what I said. So we're what, $6 to $9 million in the hole right now. Because they got more out of paying less. That's pretty simple.
I understand that.
Well,
that's not
LSU.
That doesn't.
Well, no. LSU was paying for a resume for a job.
For sure, that's all I'm saying.
And when you take everything into account of where LSU was and how the program needed a hard reset, and did he over reset? Absolutely. But that was the point. That's the price you paid for bringing relevance back to your team.
That was the price you're going to pay for any of the top coaches you want to bring relevance back to LSU at that time.
And he was
no doubt.
It felt like that hire was made with the idea of we need a guy that can sit at the top, never get you in trouble, and bring you a perennial winner. did Notre Dame, I'm not going to say get lucky. I think they knew what they had in the building, and they didn't cast their net very far because they knew what they had in Marcus Freeman. Was it a risk? Yes.
And look, here's
that's
the deal.
why you don't get him 10 years, $100 million right out the gate. Brian Kelly, whether for better or worse, that's the price you paid to get him out of Notre Dame.
And the reason why I say he's going to get paid more has nothing to do with, he's going to get paid more because he's going to get paid more because somebody's going to try to get him from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame's going to have to ante up, and they don't want to happen what happened to Brian Kelly leaving because of money or doing whatever because they don't have the resources to pay him. That's what's going to happen. Ohio State calls Marcus Freeman, he's gone. No doubt about it.
Yep.
No doubt. NFL, probably gone. No doubt.
And you do have to consider that when Brian Kelly made this leap, I don't think that this form of the playoff was probably at the forefront of his mind.
Mm-mm.
And then you kind of left an easier situation now if that's just your goal.
Absolutely.
To get into a college football playoff with the way that the whole landscape has changed considerably in the SEC.
Yeah.
And you set yourself back with the way that you've diddle-daddled and not the transfer portal and not recruiting, and now you're recruiting, but now we're in the transfer portal. Like, you need to make your mind up, first of all.
Yeah.
But you put yourself in a harder position than it was at Notre Dame, where he could have kept the status quo at Notre Dame and what he was doing, and he would probably be in a similar spot to where Marcus Freeman is this year.
I think what Brian Kelly,
think he lost to Georgia, but
I think what Brian Kelly miscalculated when he came down here was, you may have the resources and you may have the ability to bring in the talent,
but now the competition goes up.
And the competition goes up, which I think he knew, but I don't think he understood what the expectations from the fan base were.
Clearly not.
Right? Like, I don't think that's what he thought, because that in itself puts a ton of pressure on you, more so than what Notre Dame is. Notre Dame's happy to be in the dance, right? Like, because, even though they've won all those national championships a long time ago, they're happy to be in the dance. You have a first-year head coach. The expectations weren't there. You come to LSU based off of what we paid you, your expectations are skyrocketed because of what the fan base expects.
And he's a bit of a victim of his own success with what he did in his first year. That upped the expectation of LSU. If he goes 8-4 in his first year, and it's like, a pretty good job for a broken roster, and you put it together. The fact that he was able to piecemeal a roster together and get to an SEC championship, it was, okay, now I expect this every year.
Right.
Because if you're able to do it with that type of roster, let's see what you can do when you have a
100%.
full year to recruit and bring it, and that's where he's markedly failed.
Yep. And there's zero excuses this year. This is it.
No, he's out of excuses.
That's it. Zero excuses. This is it. If he doesn't go out and he doesn't make it in the playoffs and actually, be competitive, and have a real legitimate chance.
Because at the end of the day, if you want to get, you could say it's apples to oranges with Notre Dame and LSU and their schedule. Look at the two losses on LSU's
Absolutely,
record.
both teams exactly.
They both went head. They have the head-to-head data. I think SC was in a different spot probably at the end of the year where the season was done, but you still played the same team essentially. Yep. And Texas A&M, they played them the first game of the year, so you can probably put those. The median equals out to where you lost the two games that Notre Dame beat.
100%, and that's what I said. 100,000,000% this year, Notre Dame is the better team. It's better than LSU. I don't think there's any argument on that.
I mean, if you give Notre Dame Garrett Nussmeier, that national championship is a lot more entertaining.
For sure.
Even though he won't run it like Riley.
Yeah.
It's a bull at a China shop.
Denbrock doesn't want Nussmeier, apparently. That's why he left.
I think he left because he saw that. I don't like it here so much.
I know he didn't like it. He wanted to be back home. Yeah, so he wanted to be back home. That's what he said.
I think that was probably a bigger deal than we made it, because we were very optimistic after what Sloan did in the bowl game. Like, fine, you can have Denbrock, and what he did with Jaden Daniels, it was more of like maybe that was more Jaden Daniels than Denbrock.
Yeah, because Denbrock, it's not like the offense at Notre Dame's been blowing doors off people.
Right,
you know
but
what
I
mean?
think that's why Denbrock left. You saw Jaden leaving. And he was like, we have to reset this whole thing with the first-year quarterback, or I can go back to Notre Dame and kind of hide behind a great defense.
Yeah.
And at LSU, where I just put up...
with the easier route.
Yeah, and I put up historical numbers at LSU. Nobody's really giving me credit, and the defense was absolute trash. So I'm going to go to a defense that I know is good, and I can be able to play keep away.
Right.
It makes my job that much easier.
Right.
Because their offense, like you said, is not great, but he did have some... Like, people are saying he called a great game. I think he called a great game in spots.
Who?
Denbrock. That wasn't
last night?
Yeah, that wasn't an offensive masterclass by any means, but there was plays and critical situations where he dialed up the right play, and that's all you can really ask for him. And Notre Dame's going to keep winning this way on defense, special teams, and third down conversions when you absolutely have to have them. that they're doing something right.
Well, and look, I think a product of that is Notre Dame was like almost dead last. I don't know if dead last, but like very far in the bottom of college football rankings as far as I think with 3rd and 8 plus, which obviously you don't have a lot of success
Unless you're playing
anyway,
LSU.
Right, doing that. LSU actually was one of the top teams in the country in converting those. But the reason why you convert those is because you have a quarterback who can throw the football.
Well, and you're in them a lot.
Right, and you're in them a lot. But even if you're not in them a lot, if you don't have a quarterback that can throw the football
you can't
and
run
pass,
draw
and,
on
like,
3rd and 8.
you ain't running the ball and getting third down conversion on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9s.
Yeah, and I would imagine if you actually looked it up, which I will here in a second, the red zone efficiency of Notre Dame and touchdowns
Way better
versus
probably than LSU.
LSU was almost in the 99th.
Well, why is that, Jerry? Tell everybody, tell all the crowd why that is. Why are you more efficient in the red zone? What wins in the red zone?
What wins in the red zone?
Yeah, like how do you
execution wins?
Execution and being able to run the football.
Yeah, execution, being able to run the football, being able to move defenders in the red zone is what wins in the red zone. Look, you got to understand, when you're in the red zone, as an offense, you're closer to scoring. That's obvious. But guess what? As a defense, you got less field to actually defend. So everything becomes condensed. They don't have to respect deep threats as much. That means windows don't open as much. That means gaps don't open as much. It makes it that much tougher, even though you're that much closer.
Yeah. Which is why Notre Dame's so efficient in the red zones, because they run the shit out of it, and they have a quarterback who can power his way to 4 yards anytime he wants it.
And that's an offensive line that can move.
Yep.
And
It's a good offensive line.
LSU needs to find that.
Well, they are. I think the offense. I'm not really so much worried about the offensive line.
Well,
especially with the guys you've brought in.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We keep saying this. We're harping on this #1 ranked transfer portal class. At some point, it's good to win these battles, right? Like, you want to be in the game and you want to have people sign. Now it's on the coaching staff to put it all together. Like, you have to see this work in the SEC.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because like you can't make excuses because you went and got all the guys you need to go. You got top tier guys in the portal, and so you either win with them or you don't. And if you don't, the issue is you. The issue is the development. The issue is being able to get these guys to buy in, and that is going to become the problem. Now, if you go and win, obviously there's no problem.
Right.
So
then you did everything right, and you should be hoisting a trophy at the end of it. But that is the expectation.
Let's talk about the game, the Cotton Bowl.
Oh, real quick.
Okay.
I mean, would you rather have Brian Kelly or James Franklin?
Woo-hoo, give me Brian Kelly.
Yeah. I think I want BK.
After all that.
James has been getting hammered in big games, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think I want BK.
Yeah, because if you look at it, like, that's if there was a I feel like you could see what James Franklin's going to continue to do in this 12-team playoff. Well, Penn State will probably get in the majority of the time. If that's the world where that would have happened for Brian Kelly and Notre Dame, and that becomes your calling card where you get to the big game and you don't win, then nobody's knocking on James Franklin's door to take him. And LSU took a gamble on Brian Kelly being able to do that with the LSU roster. I don't think James Franklin changes at all if he gets to LSU. Like, he did well at Vanderbilt. He's done well at Penn State. But I don't think he does. What does he do?
Well, look, and I think
that's a part of it. For him, I think that's a part of it too, though. Like, he was at Vanderbilt. Obviously, Vanderbilt is not going to be winning many recruiting battles when they step in someone's house. That's just the facts of it, right? Mm-hmm. But then now you flip it over to Penn State, and what Penn State has been over the past 20, 25 years, where they have good players. I'm not saying that at all. They have good players that they're probably going to have one of the top defensive player taken in the draft this year. But it's like, are they winning those recruiting battles in that area, in that big area, when it comes to being in the same houses that Ohio State's in and the same houses that Michigan's in? Are they winning all of those? And then you're like, are they really getting the top talent when it comes out of it and to get those guys to come to that place? I think they kind of battle that situation too. So it kind of makes it hard a little bit for him to kind of win those games. But nonetheless, you still like winning them. So it just makes it tough.
Let me ask you all the question. What has been probably the weakest part of these Penn State teams since James Franklin's been there?
Quarterback.
Offense, right? Right? So when I was watching the game, and I'm like, damn, Drew Aller is supposed to be the guy. He's supposed to be, he's super talented, big recruit. I keep thinking in my mind, obviously I didn't play for the man. I just watched him as a fan. I keep thinking Les Miles, right? Like, damn, Les will win a bunch of games, but he never changed offensively. It didn't matter how many offensive coordinators they brought in. The offense always ended up being the same. It feels like James Franklin kind of does the same shit. right? Hey, we brought this offensive coordinator in to be super creative, to make our offense a little bit more explosive, and it really just kind of feels like it's the same, right? Didn't throw the wide receivers. We're going to throw the tight ends. We're going to put the tight end in and out of the quarterback position. We're going to do that kind of stuff, quote-unquote creative, but we're really not going to be that much more explosive. That was what I was thinking while I was watching the game. It's like, is James Franklin doing the Les Miles thing where
He didn't have a wide receiver
hey,
catch a pass.
let me just influence the offense. It doesn't matter who the offensive coordinator is.
Yeah, because Colt Mikie is a hell of a coach. Like, they went and got him for a reason.
That's my point.
That you're right. Like, that's a Les Miles special. Like, go get
Cam Cameron, get Gary Croton, go get whoever, name offensive coordinator that we had.
Right.
Oh, offense is going to be different. Same.
Yeah, this could be a James Franklin problem where he has his thumb over the offense a little bit.
That's
kinda
what I was thinking
choking
yesterday.
it to death. Yeah, that makes sense because that by one reservation, because I think Drew Lar stinks. But if you put him in a second year with Colt Mikie, maybe that changes a little bit.
Maybe, but I'll tell you this. I was not impressed by his throws.
No, he
yesterday.
throws off his back foot. He's fucking
the
terrified.
ball floats in the air. He's not accurate. It's like I don't
see it.
Yeah, me either.
He said he
Either.
tried to.
He doesn't have much touch at all. He doesn't. I'm sure he has an absolute rocket, but he doesn't have much touch. When he even, I don't know if y'all saw it. He said after the game,
Yeah.
the pick that he threw, he said he was trying to turf it. Coach, you missed high
and away.
and away. Like what do you mean you were trying to turf it? So like it feels to me like there's not much of a ain't much of a rangefinder on that thing, but it's probably a hose.
Yeah.
But you never even get to see it because he didn't step into anything. He's always falling away off
they're
his
reporting
back
the Ken
foot.
Lacy thing on.
Yeah, it's big time. But like you even saw it on the throw that they got waived for PI. Whatever, he had a chance to step into one and he wasn't open. But throw that thing out the back.
No
if you're
doubt.
gonna give him a chance.
Well, listen, the
He
two
throws it 5
interceptions,
yards short.
the two interceptions he threw
are terrible.
were terrible. They weren't even like they didn't even. The receiver had no chance. He just floated the ball up there.
The fake
Right?
ball acts like he's shooting a 3-pointer where he's like money.
Yeah.
And it ends up they ran that play 2 times in a row. The first one he threw out of bounds. The second one he throws behind and short of the wide receiver. He gets called for holding, but still, those are 2 different style of throws. One would be touch, and the other would be sheer arm talent. You failed on both.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would get him out my life as fast as possible, but they're not.
Well, he's
going
going to be
to
there next year. He's going back.
and they'll win 10 games and probably go to the playoff, and he'll probably get talked about again about being a first-round pick.
No doubt.
We'll do this dance again next year.
Every year. Speaking of the dance, obviously, before we get to the Texas game, Carson Beck transferred to Miami. So Georgia's going to have a new
Shocking.
quarterback. His girlfriend is a basketball player at Miami, or at least was. I don't know if she's still there, but believes that she's got some nice NIL deals probably that she has still in Miami. And seems like Carson Beck is following his girlfriend. Go and meet her. Didn't like to be away from her.
Yeah, distance was too much.
Maybe that's why he struggled.
Will she be a? I'm trying to see if. This is her last year. If Haley is the one. I don't know
which one's his girlfriend. The other one's dating Jake Ferguson, one's dating him.
Yeah, whatever.
Look, I will say this. I'll throw this in there too. When you're receiving core, so you got to remember too. You lost Ladd McConkey, you lost Brock Bowers.
Yep.
Both his first round picks, both his like top 5 rookies this year, and then the very next year, your receiving core leads the country
Drops.
in drop passes.
Yep.
And then who's coming in? Who's supposed to step in and be the next guy? So there could be an idea him would be like,
Yeah.
if I'm gonna raise a little bit in this draft stock, I need to go somewhere where I know they're gonna catch the rock. That may be in his mind as well. Got to think about that a little bit as well.
Yeah, they went and got those 2 guys from
Zachariah
USC.
Branch.
They got 2 of them.
Yeah, they got the Branch, but I think one plays defense, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I thought they got
Right.
2 wide receivers.
Yeah.
Because I know all 3 of those wide receivers were in the portal.
Yeah, but Georgia went out and tried to address the wide receiver issues. I
They
think
got 2, right? Not maybe from USC, but I thought they got 2 wide receivers.
I would
in the
imagine
portal.
so. I just know they
Yeah.
got Branch. That was like their big coup. But also for Carson Beck's perspective, you have to think of also he had Monken for that entire time. He leaves and he gets Bobo, and then you lose your wide receiver. So it was an entirely different system he had to learn. And I think he probably felt not the most respected at Georgia. Whenever you see Gunner come in and you hear the noise around, like, oh, they don't even care that I'm gone. Miami, you obviously have ties there. You make the decision very quickly, and they're probably going to drop a massive bag because Miami just hit on the transfer portal on getting a 5-star quarterback to come in and be able to almost get you to the college football playoff.
Yep.
That run this thing back and get Carson Beck and put him in an offense with playmakers around him. and let's see where we can go with this. Like they fixed their biggest issue. Miami doesn't have a quarterback.
Yeah, and we'll say it again too, because I think that's the other elephant in the room that's pretty obvious. Much easier route. That's just simple.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt.
Like that's where the SEC has done itself no service. Like when you thought about the 12-team playoff, you're like, oh, this is great for LSU. This is great for if you're what. I don't want to say Georgia because they'd probably be in, but like the teams that just kept missing, like Texas A&M or Texas before the last 2 years, whenever this thing was announced, it was like, oh, LSU was a shoo-in. That's going to help them more than anybody. And it turns out, the way that it's formatted, it's going to hurt you in the long run because ACC gets in with a conference champion. Notre Dame gets in because they're independent. There's nobody to compete with. So those are two spots.
As long as they're decent, yeah.
As long as Big Ten has to get somebody in. You see that happen. And there was no real teams that you felt were probably the best teams, but the way that it's currently constructed, you still have to win 10 games in the SEC.
Yeah. Noah Thomas was the other wide receiver. I don't know if he's committed to Georgia or not, but I know he was another big one. Sorry.
It's your brain.
Yeah, it was in my brain.
Yeah, they're going to reload because, you saw some of the throws that Beck made down the field that were just dropped. You saw it against Notre Dame where they had no drops in the first half, and I think
was it Dylan Bell?
They had 4 in the second half. I don't know.
Dylan Bell dropped. It was probably a touchdown.
Yeah, that would have been a touchdown, and that was Gunner. And so I think that Kirby Smart, with everything that has gone on since that game, I think he is on a warpath now to be able to focus strictly on football.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's talk about this game tonight. Ohio State, Texas. What we like? What don't we like? Who's gonna win?
I see this. Wow.
ESPN bet guy, expert person, came out and said that his best bets of the game are the over and Texas +6.
No, that's not good.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
I like the over as well.
I'm going to do first half under, second half over. But I'm seeing this, instead of looking at the two teams on the field, this is more of a Sarkisian versus Day matchup in my mind. Both guys get a little ornery when it comes to big games. You've seen Ryan Day nearly claps every time he's played Michigan. I don't think he's beaten them yet. And then he hasn't won a national championship, even though he's had teams that were capable. Steve Sarkisian almost in that same boat of when it gets big, he gets to be this. He goes back to old Sark where he's kind of an asshole. He doesn't really feel in control of the game. And so for both of these guys to match up against each other, I just wonder if it's going to be a test of who fails the least.
Man, you know what's funny? I like Sark, man. Like, I think Sark's a really good coach. I like his personality. He obviously has the voice of the locker room, has the pulse of the locker room. But I also I'll never forget that there was once upon a time, there was a Sark that was in a Super Bowl that was leading 28-3 and found a way to lose that with a former MVP at quarterback as well. So I wonder if there's some turtling a little bit when it comes to these really big games for him. I think this is like you said, a huge prove-it game for Sark, a huge prove-it game for Texas, who's they've been here, and then you can find them here. And you can find them both of those places in the same damn game.
Oh, yeah.
It's when are they going to just put it together in the same game and just announce themselves as we are it. They have an opportunity to do it against an Ohio State team that's absolutely buzzing right now. They're unbelievable right now. I got Texas covering. I would be surprised if they won this game a little bit, but I do have them covering in this one.
What quarterback do y'all have more faith in?
Oh, Quinn Ewers.
Me too.
I go Quinn. Yeah, I just go Quinn.
I have more faith in the
Ohio State weapons.
Yep.
But not even the weapons are great, but the way they've used Jeremiah Smith over the last 2 weeks, I'm like, bro, I don't really have to have much faith in the quarterback. If you're able to get the ball to him, it's such a strong chance he's coming down with it. And if he comes down with it and stays on his feet, you may not bring him down at all. So like it's that conversation is it's kind of weighted one way or the other. You know what I mean? Depending on how you're looking at it.
Who else Ohio State beaten so far? Indiana? No. Who they play in the playoffs? Oregon, and who else?
Tennessee.
That's right. So they played.
They had the hardest route.
No doubt. They've had the hardest route. And Texas has beaten who? Do you remember?
Arizona State.
That was the best game of the probably
just Arizona
so far.
State.
Yeah, just that.
The bye. No, they didn't have a bye.
Georgia had the bye.
Yeah.
Georgia had the bye.
Oh, Georgia had the bye. Yeah.
So Texas the 5
Who
seed.
did they beat?
So Texas had to play 2 games. So
Clemson.
Clemson. Yep.
That's
Clemson
how,
was a
that's
12
how
seed.
long ago that was.
Yeah,
and
Clemson
how
was a
much-
12 seed.
Yeah, that was a dud.
Yep.
But Clemson had an opportunity to keep it close because, like James, like you said, Texas doesn't. They can extend. They can get a lead, get it to a comfortable spot, but they don't blow anybody out.
No.
They had the chance to kill Clemson.
Yep.
They had a chance to kill Arizona State. They let both those teams back
Yep.
in it, and that's where like the 6 points might be a good buffer because like hold on. Like, at least they won't get all the way. Like, they could lose it in the last by a touchdown or lose it, be up and lose by 3. And then you still have the 6 points, but it's hard not to pick the over, too.
Well, and here's the deal.
Right.
Like,
Looking at these, some of these scores.
Texas's defense is supposed to be really good.
That front four is nasty.
But they let Arizona State
Second half.
like run all over them and throw do what they wanted to in the second half. And so that kind of concerns me because Ohio State's offense is significantly better than Arizona State's offense, especially with the weapons they got.
Yeah, they didn't have Superman.
No, they got 2
Can
running
they
backs
put it
in there.
together
Pretty
for
good.
4? Can Sark continue calling and motivating and pushing this team through for 4? Like, that's kind of where it's at. And honestly, because of the way that Ohio State's playing right now, I'm not sure that this Texas team still has enough, even if they're able to do that.
So you like Ohio State? Close, Ohio State.
Close in this game. I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Texas to cover, Ohio State to win. What do you like, Lloyd?
I'm going to go off the beaten path here a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and put a future on both Texas and Ohio State to win the national championship right now.
So you think whoever wins this is winning the
I
national
think that's the
championship?
general consensus, huh?
I don't know.
The only thing about Notre Dame is that, like, Jared, I heard a little bit about what you said, and it's I don't know how they keep doing this, but they keep doing it. At some point, that becomes who you are, where Notre Dame is always able to come up with the timely interception, the kickoff
Right.
return. For like sometimes that's just what the team you have
That's
that
it.
year.
That's
it's
it.
like the
That's-
Saints
yeah.
when they went on that Super Bowl run.
Yep.
Defense wasn't great, but they always came up with a big play when they needed
Yep.
it, and it happened throughout
But they
the
led the
entire
league.
year.
They led the league in turnovers that year.
Yeah, it happened even in the Super Bowl. You got an onside kick.
Well, and you got Tracy Porter with the
Yep.
concealer.
Yeah, and in the
Yep.
NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Get the sealer there too. So sometimes it just happens that way. That's what makes me nervous about Notre Dame being able to win it. But in this game, I have to see Ryan Day actually win one before I can give him the nod of approval. I think Sark has a little bit less of, skeletons in his closet. And it's hard to go against that Ohio State run game. But they have so many weapons, I feel like sometimes they don't know how to utilize any of them. Like they get too
Well, it feels like
frisky trying to
sometimes
spread it all around.
it feels like sometimes in the big games they try to get a little too tricky
Right.
and too fine
Well,
and
that's
too,
Chip
and then
Kelly's
they
special.
come back down. So
They're going to want to run it. They have Henderson that came back that was going to be a top 2 round pick in the NFL. He came back. They brought in Judkins, so that's what they want to do. But their offensive line is so injured. They lost 2 starters for the year. You would have to think that Texas defensive line is going to wreak havoc. And if you can't block it up front, and you can't block it when 4's coming, that's a terrible day for the best of quarterbacks. So if Texas is able to get pressure, you ain't going to be able to find your weapons. You're not going to have they're going to have to be able to get it to Jeremiah Smith creatively and quick, if that's what is going to happen on the Ohio State offensive front, because I do think Texas is going to be living in that backfield.
yeah, I like Texas to win. Honestly, I do. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a last possession type of game.
You know what this
And when
is?
that happens, you rely or you lean on the quarterback that you have the most faith in, and I have the most faith in Quinn Ewers being able to go out there and win at the end.
We do have to have a conversation about what we last saw from Texas's special teams.
Yep.
Old Mr. Auburn was not the brightest spot.
Right. Not great.
2 chances to win
And
it.
Notre Dame, well, this isn't the playoffs, but like
Ohio State hasn't had to do anything.
Ohio State had to whatever. But if Texas does get by them, that's a big conversation, right? Because Notre Dame has been the best special teams in the country.
And that kicker was not that guy until he got to Notre Dame. I don't know who their special teams coach is, but probably should have brought him with you.
I thought he was good.
No, they got him out the portal. But he apparently it's been an up and down year, but he's been
Well, but
good
he was
this
hurt.
year.
He was hurt.
Yeah, he's
That's
been
what that
great
was been
this
the issue.
year.
But last year he was like a big time kicker.
I just heard he was always up and down, but
This
now
year,
he's been nails
Yeah.
for the last when they've needed it.
Yeah.
The 2 players they brought in from the portal at Notre Dame, quarterback and kicker. Turns out those 2 are pretty.
It's the only
Pretty
2.
good.
That's the 2 biggest ones that made it. Yeah, it's not the only 2,
Okay.
but those are the ones
Okay.
that they've highlighted because
Well, they brought in Jordan Clark.
yeah, he played well.
Yeah, he did.
But
He's been playing really well.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman took the Brian Kelly line we like to sprinkle in the portal. We don't want it to be the whole flavor. We like to be on top. And it's like I've heard that somewhere.
Yeah, you
before.
could do that whenever you're playing the type of schedule.
Yeah.
right?
So you get to the playoff, but then that's what coaching pulled out.
And
that's
this
who
one
they've
coaching,
been.
and that's yep. So we'll see.
But I'm interested to see this will be a big testament for NIL if Ohio State continues on this warpath with everybody knows that they spent $20 million on their roster. If it turns out to be a massive success and you win a national championship and your only blemish is the Michigan loss, which that'll probably weigh heavily next year, but I don't think Ohio State would concern itself with a loss to Michigan in a national championship. But that will have a lot of people's ears perk up.
Well, they lost to Oregon too, didn't they? Yeah.
They did. Lost by 1.
Yeah. So
They wouldn't have been in a 14 playoff.
No.
But that's why this thing's cool, I guess.
Right.
You get a team that gets hot
And
at
they
the
got
right
hot.
time.
Right. I think the longer the game goes, the closer the game is for the longer it is, the tighter Ohio State's going to play. Just because Ryan Day has kind of shown that in the recent history.
And Texas beat Michigan.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I don't care about that at all. Yeah, I'm gonna go Texas. I like the over in this game though. I do like the over.
It's more fun to.
What is the over under sitting at right now? What's the total sitting at?
It is. Give me 1 second. Let me get my handy dandy
I didn't
app.
know if you saw it from your boy up there that took the over.
52. The over he took was ESPN bets. I think a point and a half higher than Caesars.
Oh, so he went to 54. That's where you think it settled. So
His was at over 53 and a half. Mine was 50. This is 52.
31-24.
Yeah, I like the over in this one. I can see
I
the over.
like over 52 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any unders again.
I mean, 27-24 last
You know
night's
what this
game.
is.
Last night's game was 51.
It
You know
shouldn't
what I
have been. You know what this is?
What is
Return
this?
of the tees.
I mean, return. Is it going anywhere?
I haven't been doing it. I've been.
I said that thing ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
still teasing and everything. Come
But
on
this
now.
is a nice little two-game teaser right here, where you can get Texas plus some more points. You can get them at probably up to 13. Do a 7-game and then get the over down to 45.
I like the 52. I already took it.
The alternate line.
I'm gonna take the. I hadn't bet the Texas money line yet, but
I do think there's a world where Texas, if that defensive line is what I think it is,
Well, that's
against
what
that offensive line, then I don't know if you'd hope.
I think
The
a big
over is in jeopardy, but Texas would.
Jeremiah Smith, honestly, obviously most talented person on the field. Like he's freshman, he's gonna be top receiver taken. He's gonna be in the NFL, perennial all-pro.
All-pro.
That type of
All
talent,
these
no doubt. I think if Texas is able to stop the Ohio State's ability to run the football with the Travion Henderson and
If they get him out the run fits.
if they aren't able to run the football, because that's where a lot of their big plays came from, was the run games and then being able to stretch the defense out. If they're not able to do that, I don't think they're going to score 41 points, even though they've done it the last 2 games.
But I also think Texas feels good because of their front
Yeah.
about being able to stop the run
I
game.
agree.
Like I feel like they feel like this is the kind of game that we want to be able to play against them. And now it's going to be, I think, whether or not these jump balls, the opportunity for us to be able to stop Jeremiah Smith in some of these one-on-one situations is probably going to be the big, because if they're not able to do it early, I think it kind of breaks the back and breaks the will of where they think they are. And I was like, shit. Well, we thought we had this schemed up to get him, and we still can't get him. How are we going to get this done? And then now you start moving things around a little bit more, and creases start to open up a little bit more. But I do think initially, I think they feel really good about their opportunity and what they can do against the run game of Ohio State. I really do.
It's going to be a fun game. It's the one that I think everybody's been waiting for. I think both.
They got it right by putting this one on Friday night.
No
Let's just
doubt.
be
And
honest.
I think, honestly, I think both matchups were great matchups, right? I think Notre Dame and Penn State matched up very well with each other based off of the style of play. And I think Texas and Ohio State both match up very well with each other based off the style.
The talent level.
And the talent level.
Let's just be completely honest.
Right.
And because of,
Right.
And then when you get to the national championship, it'll be like the conflicting ideologies of old school football versus
Whoever
finesse
wins this.
versus strength.
You think the spread, let's say whoever wins this spread in the national championship game.
The winner of this game will be
touchdown spread,
favored.
6-point spread,
Probably.
stay similar to what it is now. Whoever wins this game, you think?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's higher if Ohio State wins
No,
it?
I think I think this one is inflated a little bit because of what Ohio State's done.
Yeah.
But lest we forget, Colin Simmons is lining up for Texas.
You said 4. I thought he was number 11.
He has 11.
Why'd you say 4?
When?
Oh, you're just talking about the front four.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said like the number four.
No,
like,
no, I think
they gotta know where four's at.
No, I think their front four, is,
Got it.
like even their defensive tackles are great, but Colin Simmons, because they're so good, gets the line up 1-on-1, and if they don't have their left tackle, so,
Yeah. Listen,
that young man is a beast.
last thing I'm gonna say before we go
Run
to
it right at him.
Do we have any current calls or mistakes of the day or anything? Mistake of the day: the kid from or the person from California who started a fire in the middle of the whole fire.
They let him out. He said he didn't do it.
They said he didn't do it, or he said he didn't do it.
No, they already.
They proven that he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, good for
But-
him. Not a mistake of the day.
Mistake of the day: Ohio State fans reportedly misread college football playoff bracket. Book trip to Orange Bowl, not the Cotton Bowl.
No way.
Yep.
A
group
lot
of Ohio
of them.
A group.
Oh, group.
A group of Ohio State fans are reportedly attending the wrong CFP semifinal game after misreading the CFP bracket and booking a trip to the Orange Bowl. Penn State reporter Johnny McGonigal, that's a real name, posted on Twitter Thursday that he ran into a group of Ohio State fans at his hotel ahead of the Orange Bowl. They misread the bracket and thought Ohio State would be playing in the Orange Bowl. They'll be at Penn State Notre Dame tonight. So they're not even selling the tickets. They just went to the game.
So they decided to book it and then not double check anything ever. Like say, oh, sorry, we fucked up. Can we change our reservations?
No, they just stuck with it.
They went straight to party right after they booked it.
Yeah.
Wow. They probably looked at the weather and like, you know what? I'd rather be in Miami anyway. Fuck this cold.
For those wondering, they look like students. Said they misread the bracket. Didn't say if they literally misread and booked or misread on how it would play out, thinking OSU would play in the Orange Bowl and booked weeks ago. Funny either way, and stunned they didn't sell. They got a good game.
Maybe they're going to live or 11.
They probably did a bunch of stuff like booked in Miami already that you're like non-refundable. Like
You know
if you
what?
booked it weeks in ahead.
They're gonna have a hell of a weekend because
Yeah.
now they're going to the game and they're just probably extended their stay. We're gonna watch. Now we're gonna watch the game here.
Yeah, you have to get whoever. I guess you go out and buy like a bunch of Notre Dame gear after they win, and you're like, love Indy.
That's it.
Yeah,
we're partying with the Indy fans.
Yeah, get some strange. And then you're like, then you stay in all day Friday, and you're like, thank God we're not in Dallas. Like, get to watch the game, maybe go to the.
And look how cold it is over there.
Yeah, like, this
You
is
know
the
what I mean?
best. You can spin
No
this into
doubt.
a positive, but
Yeah, good.
tough.
Dallas got some real snow yesterday, man.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did.
But tough too. I just like to put myself in that position for when you're like, wait, what game?
Lloyd, your year would be absolutely crushed if you did that.
I would sell the ticket and we got to book another flight. Like that would be a horrible travel arrangement to have to, but we're doing it. Got to go see LSU. I'm not here to see Notre Dame and Penn State. I can tell you that. I barely watched it on TV, much less went. But there's the cold sweat that you get for being like, wait, these are wrong. Like, what do you mean? Like, bro, this is we're going to the wrong game. Like, we're already here. Like,
Yeah, tough.
that's a tough feeling. Ugh.
Tough. All right, so that's a good mistake of the day. I didn't know you had one ready.
Yeah.
Do you have a curtain call?
Always have a curtain call.
Jay, you got a curtain call?
I don't know because I don't know if I actually. I don't have one right now.
Okay.
Let me just put it like that. I don't have one.
Lloyd, what's your curtain call?
LSU football
Yeah, okay.
has 2 first-team All-Pro wide receivers this year, obviously, and Jamar Chase and Jordan Jefferson. But the first time it has happened where they're both first-team, so shout out to LSU wide receiver U for putting 2 guys on the first team, all NFL team.
Congratulations. That's a good one.
Oh, and also you can throw Derek Stingley in there, All-Pro.
3 LSU guys on the All-Pro team.
All played on the same team.
I
Who would have thought 2019 would turn out to be pretty good in the NFL?
don't think anybody could ever predicted
Who
that.
would have thought?
Yeah, then you have a quarterback who should have been MVP had their team just won games.
Yeah, you would have had, yeah.
I was one of the Bengals fan accounts popped up on like potential, like not following, but like
Oh, suggestion,
whatever. And his whole thing was 4 plays were the reason why the Bengals were 9-8 and not 12-5, and with a playoff or 13-4, whatever it was, and it was like the first game of the season against
the Patriots.
Whenever it was like I think it was Gesicki fumbled on like the half-yard line going in to score. He would have scored a touchdown. Fumbled. They ended up losing. They lost that game. That was the end of the game. I think there was like 3 other games where it was like 1 play.
They missed a ton of field goals.
They had the it was it the Ravens or was it it was a pass interference? It was a pass interference, but it was a pass interference call on like the 4th down. I put them in field goal range, and they won the game.
And then the missed pass interference calls against whenever they played the Ravens, where they didn't call the hold.
And look, I mean that's a fan account. So like, obviously,
but
easy
it was,
to say,
it was
but it's
like
like
4 plays.
Yeah.
They left a lot.
But there's other things that happen in those games that it shouldn't have come down to
Right.
that play. Obviously, that's why I say, one play lost the game. It's like no, it was a lot of other things could have gone differently and not had to worry about that.
You
play.
forget about the breaks that went your way.
Yeah, exactly.
But-
I do not have a curtain call. Actually, my curtain call is to Spirit Airlines.
Hell yeah.
I was skeptical. I'd never done it. I lost sleep over it. Now, look, did not start off rainbows and roses. The website was not very user friendly. I was trying to check in. My wife had already checked our bags in, so we had already paid for that. I was trying to check in. They kept telling me there was an error, and it wouldn't let me do all these different things, and there was no error. But we got the boarding pass. It worked out. And then my brother-in-law had already paid for didn't pay for the bag, but already assigned his seats and done everything that he needed to do, and then it did not assign him seats. So then he had to he was sitting in the toilet on the plane.
Oh, no.
You know, he was like.
That's tough.
Yeah, it was like not great. Well, then he wasn't. The first flight he was back in the back, but there was, had a bunch of room so he could move around. On the flight back, they said, oh, no seats. And so in order for him to get a seat together, he had to pay an extra like $40 to get into like the comfortable seats, the higher end seats of the Spirit airline, even though he had already got his seats assigned when he booked the flight for free.
Too late.
But they said, oh, there's no seats. So, they nickel and dimed him a little bit. He was not very happy.
Yeah, they're going to catch somebody.
But no delays, on time, smooth flight, great landing, and we made it back safe. So that's my curtain call.
Hell yeah, dude! I told you I'm an advocate for Spirit.
Yeah, it was great.
They will fly.
Can't say I will fly Spirit again, but maybe. Never say never. Jared, you find one? Did we filibuster enough for you?
No, I didn't find one.
Nope. Okay.
Lloyd kind of took the one that I was talking about a little bit anyway, because I went back to look at that one, which is a good one. But no, I just keep it out. It's good.
All right, I like it. Colin Cowherd, by the way. Did you see what he said last night? He said, I'm convinced that some of these, and I don't mind Colin Cowherd, but I'm convinced that some of these pundits just say things to have these crazy conversations. He says, you see Riley Leonard, I see Josh Allen. That was his tweet.
Riley Leonard?
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
that was
Aggressive.
17 hours ago.
So he was
That's
watching.
aggressive.
He was
I
watching.
saw something he said right before I went to bed last night, but it wasn't that.
You see Riley Leonard, I see Josh Allen. Do you? You think Riley Leonard looks like Josh Allen?
A lot of people were doing that with Alar.
Josh, he doesn't even look like Josh Allen.
No, but like body wise. But Josh Allen. I mean, I know he was the most reckless player maybe in college football, but obviously there was a risk when you took him that early because he was unproven, wasn't very accurate, but he was an athlete and he had a howitzer. But I still think he did more things in college that were like, okay, maybe, than what I've seen from Alar and certainly Riley Leonard.
Yeah.
I mean, Leonard can't. How is he going to play quarterback in the NFL?
This Kyron Lacy thing's not good, dude.
No, it's terrible.
This Kyron Lacy thing is not
Not
good.
at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Not a lot of wiggle room in this one.
No, people died.
Yep.
Like,
And it's Yep.
damn.
God, I feel bad, man.
Yeah. I feel bad for everybody involved.
I feel bad for everybody involved. The people that were injured, obviously the one that lost a life. I feel bad for him as well too, man, because he's gonna look at this down the line, however it shakes out, and realize that it's gonna be a life-altering event that's happened in his life.
And I'm hoping it wasn't. I say hoping. Like I'm hoping it was an accident. Like there was nothing that led to it as far as like impairment or anything like that. Right. I'm hoping that it was a lapse in judgment. He was got impatient, and then it was a complete
bad decision.
bad decision, accident, tragedy thing, and not something that
comes out. That's why
that was that there was an impairment or something. Some reason I have
no
no idea, no reason to believe that or not. That's That's kind of what I'm
Yeah,
hoping.
best case scenario there's no good scenario, but it's that he fled the scene because he panicked.
That's basically what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It was good to be back in studio, people. I missed y'all. We'll be back next week live. First pitch banquet next Thursday. We'll be back. We'll be there live. So if you are going and you got your tickets, pop in to see the show live. We haven't done a live show in a minute, probably since the last first pitch banquet. Looking forward to it. We'll be back there on Thursday. We'll be back live in studio next Monday from 6 to 8 p.m., recapping all the playoff games, recapping, obviously, the playoff game the college football playoff game is going on tonight. NFL playoff games going over the weekend. LSU basketball plays Ole Miss on ESPN or SEC Network tomorrow, I think at 5. So we'll talk about that as well. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you don't like watching us, but you like listening to us. Anywhere you get your pods. We appreciate the support. We'll be back on Monday. Peace.